Hey guys, welcome back to Jerry's Artorama Facebook Live. I am, as always, your host, Amy Gardner-Dean. Today we are doing JL47. This episode is about the Artist Self-Improvement Series. This is episode 2. It's the business of art when you're starting out. Welcome to the episode. It's going to be pretty jam-packed. There's a few of the resources that I use to help write this that I'm going to actually recommend that if you're wanting to do this and to get into this seriously, that you invest in, even though it's, you know, like $7 or $8. I'll have Amanda check while we're going along. But that I was actually learned some things about and was actually like, hey, those are some pretty good ideas. So as we go, we'll discuss those. Our Facebook Live group, our Jerry's Facebook Live group, you can get into that by Katie. Let's see. Do I have the big note under here?
It should still be under there.
Well, it's under a bunch of other things. Obviously, this is, you just go to Facebook to groups, Jerry's Live.
They can just search Jerry's Live on the
or
group
do
tab.
it that way.
I'll
Yes.
put up a link.
Okay, and Amanda's on it. So, some of the information that we're going to talk about, we're actually going to do a follow-up within the next week where we'll post the extra information. One of them is about websites. So if you're interested in building your own website, and believe me, I've been a really bad artist, and Katie's always on me about this. I should have had, I used to have a website. It was one of those free webs kind of sites. It went down, I let it lapse. I know I'm pulling strings and canvas is moving everywhere. I let it not lapse, but just I didn't do any additions to it. I didn't. Yeah, it got outdated, and then it got turned off because there'd been no like additions to it or anything like that, and then I couldn't get back into it. So because I didn't have that old email. So this is something that I need to be doing as well. So in researching for this, I'm like looking on all these sites. Oh, how hard could it be? It was fine before, blah, blah, blah. And looking at domain names and all these different things. And it was just like, oh my gosh, what actually do you need? So we're actually gonna have a document that we're gonna post in the Facebook Live group that will be pretty much step-by-step how to build your own very simple website. And we actually, the director of marketing, built just a basic simple one, not for so much for me, but used me as an example for the website, threw up some images today, like boom, like less than an hour, and stuff's up. So we'll give you that address as we go, but you can go look at it after the episode. You can see, hey, would this be perfect for my art? It's not like a selling site where you can take money and stuff like that, but obviously it gets you seen, it gets you out there, right? And which is what you want, and we'll explain why it's important to have it, even if you don't like use but minimal stuff on it, because really in this day and age, people don't take you seriously without a website. So, and you know, shame on me, hindsight, in applying for an artist residency last year that they'd only ever had like 32 people apply for. The year before, I was like, oh, well, that won't be that big of a deal. I don't need to make one. So, you know, it doesn't look like the prospects they had before were that big of a deal. Like 300 people applied, and I'm sure they were like, no social media stuff. Just cross those people out, because it was also about promoting. It was in a national park. It was about promoting their park and all those things that I wasn't yet doing. That regardless of my talent, just took me right out of the running, because they wanted people that were going to do that additionally, besides do, you know, artwork and such in the park. So anyway, lesson learned, and that's why we're doing this, to help you and to help me. So if you join the group, there are, what, 2 questions, right?
I think it's just one.
Okay, well, there's one. We're just making sure you're not a robot.
Yeah.
Making sure it's not something to, you know, scam and get in there and then collect everybody else's data and then use that. It's just, you have to answer the question and submit it. Otherwise, your membership is just going to be in pending land, floating around.
In limbo.
Yes, so please answer the question when you sign up. But that document will be posted within the next week, because he's doing it absolutely step by step from, okay, you're bringing the domain name over, and then this is how you do this. So then the next reminder, the Facebook Live critique. We had 4 people at the last one last month, so that was awesome. Like to have more if we can, although we actually had a pretty good time with the 4 that we had. So that'll be next Friday the 16th at our Raleigh retail store. Not any other ones, just Raleigh, because I can twist their arms. They're local. But that'll be 6 to 8 p.m. on March 16th. So back in the classroom at the rear of the building. So, so I guess this is something everybody's been there at one point or another, or maybe you're there now. But people will be like, oh, I just love this painting that you did. I love this watercolor you did. Oh, Amanda, this is beautiful lettering. Hey, Amanda, it's beautiful lettering, by the way. You know, how much do you charge for something like that? You know, would you paint my dog Buster? I really liked the cow you did. Do you paint dogs? You know, I'd love a portrait of my dog Buster. Just, I mean, or Wilbur, Waldo, Charlie. Insert dog name here. You know, that's fantastic because A, somebody thinks that your art is of value. B, they want to know how to get it themselves. Where do you go from here though, right? I mean, it's like one of those things where like, yeah, oh, now I've got to like, I'm going to need a price list and I'm going to need this and I'm going to need that. So not to worry. That's what we're here to discuss, right? Just kind of all the basic stuff you need when you start getting those requests, those things that you pull out of your pocket and go, well, here's my card, here's a rates sheet, those type of things, right? So, okay, you're gonna need all that stuff, but starting out, you're starting from where? A space where you're working, right? You gotta work somewhere if people are seeing this stuff. And in kind of looking to revamp my own studio working space in my house, I wanted to see what this book was about because when I was kind of looking for research material, it is the Inside the Artist Studio book. 37 studios are shown, but it's like 45 artists that are featured in it. And I was kind of like looking at it, oh, well and good. I mean, there's these beautiful workspaces that, you know, we should all be so lucky to be a professional and have these type of, look at this pastels. It's a pastel workspace. You know, it's all well and good, but it explains, they interview the different artists, why they set up their studio the way they do, what works for them. Not all of them have really expensive, fancy equipment in them. So I liked that because, okay, it was very like inspirational, but then I got to the back. If you teach classes, it talks about how to set up classroom spaces and workshop spaces. Something, I mean, if you haven't been to a workshop and you don't know about that, that's a good way to kind of practically show you how to do it. But then it also goes to, trying to find it, insulating a garage and turning a garage into a studio space. It talks about like spaces in a spare bedroom. It talks about any usable, like taking living space and using that. If you don't have the space right now, you've got to start somewhere, and to be able to constantly go in and work and have that workspace ready, you need to devote some space somewhere, even a card table, to, you know, where you're going to be doing that. So this is a great book just as far as, I mean, some of them show just the entrance of their studio. It's a back shed with doors open.
Whatever works.
But it shows how they set them up, and it shows kind of practical ideas for insulating and for doing those type of things. So it was a really, really beautiful to look at book, but just it gave a lot of ideas, a lot of inspiration, that type of thing. So if you're kind of considering how to do that, or even kind of considering how to revamp a studio space that you already have that's existing, it's a nice kind of book to peruse through, get some good ideas. And it's even got artists like Paul McCormick in it, so I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was like, whoa, hey, I know him. Yeah, so it was very interesting. So, all right, so evaluate your space. Even if you don't get the book, think about these things. If you're talking about your spare bedroom, you're talking about your garage, you're talking about your basement, things that you need to do. Climate control is a must. Right off the bat, I'm just here to tell you, living in North Carolina and having at one point no air conditioning for several years, to be...
You crazy.
I know, Kay's like... Because sometimes it gets in the... We had one year that was like, what, 20-something days of 100 plus?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I worked outside.
And like 100% humidity. Like,
yeah,
no
yeah,
thank you.
yeah. Because you then, you know, you can't... It's hard to give people kind of times that you can get commissions to them if something never dries.
Yeah. Or melts off the canvases. Right?
Yeah. I mean, seriously, it impacts it. Or if it's so cold you can't go work, you know, because you're in northern Minnesota and your garage isn't insulated. So climate control is a must at minimum, I think, for a workspace. You know, if you have to move to, you know, a spare bedroom in the winter or in the really hottest parts of the summer, I mean, there you go. But that, I think, is a minimum for any workspace. Plus, the more comfortable you are, the longer you're going to want to work there, right? The longer you're going to want to create. Venting it properly if the mediums warrant it. If you're doing encaustics, you don't want to be working out of your, you know, walk-in closet, you know, because that's the one space you have. Obviously, use some common sense. Even with acrylics in a very enclosed area can get just the formaldehydes and things like that can sometimes get a little bit dicey smell-wise. Just, I mean, think about they're painting the corporate bathrooms here. Going in there today after they painted yesterday, and that was just house paint was like gagging. So, so consider that. Lighting, adequate lighting for your workspace. If you're working at a work table, if you're going to do still lifes, you need lighting for your still lifes. You need lighting for the area you're working at. If you're going to work non-traditional hours, or you don't have a great lighting space. I mean, you may have just a room that has one small window and it's over here with no room for your desk or whatever to work at. You need adequate lighting, and really, it's smart to look at like the daylight bulbs, the full spectrum LEDs. Things that are going to give you the best, you know, so you're not working long and oh, it looks great, it's just beautiful. You go and, you know, take it outside when it's light, take a picture of it, and you're like, dude, what is with these colors?
Yeah.
Because they'll do that to you, you know? Color is just light reflected, like whatever, it's reflecting the color that it is. So if you don't have adequate lighting, or the color isn't, you know, the full spectrum lighting, you can have some surprises.
Yeah.
So, and if you're doing commissions,
not a good surprise.
No, that's not a good surprise. So consider that in any working area, but especially if you're in a small area. If you're in a small area, shelves that you can stack, or I mean bins that you can stack, or shelves that can kind of be in a very small space that you can put your supplies vertically to keep them up out of the way. Bins are great. You want them to be clear so you can see what's in it. You also want to label them with a Sharpie. Make sure you put everything that's in there. Nothing is worse than spending, you know, 20 minutes trying to find something, and by then you're just like, you found other things, and oh, I forgot I had that. No, I forgot you know, shiny, ooh, wee, ah. Katie does that. That's why I said it. Amanda does too. So always mark everything. If you've got to keep it in bins, make sure they're clear.
That's why we get along.
And make sure they're marked so that you're not wasting time getting sidetracked. Consider a portable card table. I've worked on a portable card table before, even with a regular studio.
Make sure your legs are locked, because
yes,
I've done that before.
I will say a better quality you know, card table is better because it's sturdier if you've got a lot of stuff. Some of those really inexpensive ones will tend to bow over time, especially if you know you have water and you've got a bunch of paint sitting on top of them, or you know, a heavy pastel set or something like that. It's really better to pay $10 or $15 more for like maybe a wood card table, or the card tables that I've got one that's, I don't know if it was, somebody gave it to me for puzzles. I never put the puzzles together, but he used it for art stuff. So something like that, you can, you know, when you're done, you can pack it up, you can put it away, out of the way, still use that room for something else. When you're working with kids at home and you have a small space, that's not a studio where you can't just go close the door, or you have big dogs, kids, big dogs, I have been there with both of those things. Cover your workspace up with a sheet. It just keeps dogs from being like, oh, what's up at the back there, and you know, knocking things down, or she in one of Teresa Brown's CDs, she talks about one of her children painting over, while she was making dinner, painting over the portrait faces of an oil commission she was working on, of course with black, because that's what they do. My son did that with a painting of polar bears that was due at the North Carolina Zoo. If they can't see it, they're not going to be interested in it. In that case, you know, with a painting, if you've got an easel on wheels, where you can, an easel that folds up, put that stuff away in the closet and, hang the painting up on a hook on the wall up above where they can get to it, just so that doesn't happen. It might take a few more minutes and then you'll have to reset it up, but it's better than wasting hours and hours and hours or having to clean it off, losing some of your painting, and then trying to kind of partially start over. Just kind of use common sense where that's concerned. If you've got a dedicated, Katie looks at me like, common sense?
Common sense.
Aw. Yeah. Well, sorry, trying to save us all time is money, right? A dedicated studio room where you can close the door. One of the things I noticed with all of these different studio spaces that I looked at, for the most part in this book, something that I've learned over the years from having a big home studio when I did, carts, tables, easel, the more wheels you can have up under stuff where, the light's really beautiful this time of year, over in the bay windows, everything gets moved over there, the room gets rearranged. Okay, it's not that great time of year, or, it's really windy, it's blowing, there's, I lived right by a school at recess time, nothing was worse than they're out there beating the crap out of each other with, wiffle ball bats and stuff, and it's by the bay window, you see that, and it's very distracting. So I would close all the curtains and, have curtains where you can, if the light is too bright, you can minimize it. If it's not, you can pull those back. But if you can move things around, sometimes just things get stale, and kind of moving things around makes you feel better. It makes you more productive. It's kind of a new take. Yes.
On wheels in here.
Yes, everything is on wheels in here. And when we film here, we still move some other stuff around, but it makes it much easier to set up and take down in here. So something to consider. That doesn't mean you have to buy studio furniture that's expensive with wheels. The things that I've got, for the most part, in my studio, other than my easel, and other than a paper cart, were kitchen islands on wheels that were free from Craigslist, from FreeCycle. One was like $5 from a rummage sale that was probably a $50 or $60 island that has drawers, that has a cupboard down underneath, microwave carts. Microwave carts are fantastic for that. But then you've got a table that's a pyre like this that you can put your palette to work on, so you can have storage underneath. Things can, wheel around. You can never have too many carts like that, like a tabaret style cart.
I have an old dental cart that they used to run. Ooh. Yeah.
That would be perfect.
Because it's got shallow doors and,
yeah,
and it goes in.
So I mean, even Facebook has a marketplace where you can find stuff that people just want a few bucks so that they don't have to go haul it to the dump, right? So so consider those kinds of things to kind of pad your studio furniture out. Shelves in your closet, flat files, things like that. Those are things that are good because they can store things that you don't need to have out all the time that mess up your area visually, like stretched canvases, like packs of paper, like, all those different types of things that just, you don't want to stand your packs of paper in the corner, or you really don't want your canvases out where, kids or dogs could be monkeying with them. Heck, you could push a cart and bump into it and dent a canvas and not know I had some Charvin linen. Remember when we used to have those, Katie, that I did that with, that like two of them were, they were ruined. There was nothing other than trying to restretch them, which wasn't going to happen. I mean, just thankfully I didn't pay for them, but it was just like, oh, that's an $80, canvas that it's unusable. So anytime you can put that kind of stuff away, and just the clutter, the visual clutter makes it easier to work too. Find a safe place to put it. Remember though, if you do oil primed linen, it gets dark in a dark place. Bring it back out for a couple days in a nice light area of your studio, because it'll yellow, it gets light again, then you work on it. It's not ruined, and then you can't not have it for life, or it's going to damage your artwork. That's just what happens with it. It will lighten up, even with paintings.
We do it all the time.
Paintings do that. So yes, we did it with panels and stuff here. So store books, reference materials, things like that in a room, in a compact, neat place, shelves, things like that, where they're easily accessible, right? So you can get them, you can use them, you can put them right back. Nothing is worse than running through the house going, where did I You know, oh, my art books are out in the living room.
Yeah.
Because then you go out there and then somebody left a glass out and needs it picked up, and, you know, your favorite show's on in the background. You think, I'm just going to take 20 minutes. And no, have your stuff there. Have it within easy reach. Look at it, put it right back. Materials like, you know, colored pencils, brushes, any of those type of things, have them in jars, things in easy reach for you to get to that are displayed, that you don't have to take time to hunt for. Yes, that makes all the difference. Or, you know, even stacked on shelves. I throw the colored pencil tins away. Typically, I put them in those big, I guess they're embroidery floss containers. I mean, now some of the boxes we have now are better, where you can take the trays out. But the old ones that were cheap plastic, where you take the trays out, would get broken. I had those in color families. Would pull those out so you could have them, stack them back up, put them on the shelf.
You can put cups in wine rack holders.
Yes.
And it'll hold them.
Yeah, see?
A whole bunch of them over top, yeah.
Yeah, anything where it makes it look cool, it's neat, your supplies are right there, it's pretty. That kind of makes you want to come in and work because it's there. Woo. Let me get started, you know? So think about that. Wall space. Leave some wall space around your work area for color charts. I always have this right up behind my easel, wherever, you know, the mirror, window, things like that with lighter over here. It's right over there so I can reference it really easily. So you can put sketches for your reference stuff. If you're working on something specific and you've got your kind of layout sketches, you can put that on there. If you've done, you know, color theory for it, trying to find the right color, maybe you got a couple ideas and you're not sure, sometimes having them up helps you make decisions. Save some wall space for that. That wall space is also good for taking that off the easel, putting it up over there, getting away from it for a few minutes, coming back in, sitting in a different spot and looking at it. You will see problems that you have, you'll see successes that you have, but sometimes getting it off the easel and not standing right next to it is the easiest way to catch something before it gets out of control, or you're so far into it you're like, never mind, it's not worth taking the time to fix. So have a specific wall or location, or even another easel in your studio to be able to do that with. Again, I mean, I can't reiterate more with kind of more emphatic, you know, I'm afraid Amanda. Amanda's like,
no, Patty said the apothecary jar was gone, and I don't know.
It is.
Oh yeah, stuff moves. There's gremlins.
The cubes she's talking about are color swatches.
Oh yeah,
they're little color swatches. So it's sitting on my desk, Patty.
Yep, it moves. Yeah, I was supposed to find out what that was, and I forgot.
They're color swatches.
Yeah.
They're the Charvin color swatches on little 2x2 canvases.
Oh yeah, okay, all right. So anyway, you know, if the stuff's all out there, if it's all within arm's reach, you don't have to go through the house looking for something where then I need to change the laundry, maybe I'll get a snack, maybe I'll do this. It keeps you from mismanaging your time. Things are right there, ready to go. That leads into time management. I have heard from so many people that it's a broken record. I don't have time to be an artist. Right now you're on Facebook. I mean, I'm glad you're here with me. Right. But you could be working. Just
you could do both at the same time.
Yeah, well, yes, that's what I do. You know, I love to watch movies. I have an easel in the living room.
Yep. I do the same thing.
So, because then I can kind of listen to it, watch the parts I like. But people say that all the time. I guarantee you, if you do this, you will learn where your time is going. I've got these little notebooks out because A, they're great for ideas. When you think of something, keep one by the bed. You have a weird dream and you want to remember it and write it down because it'd be a great painting, or that feeling from it, you want to try to figure out how to show that. Take a little notebook, keep it in your purse, keep it in your pocket, wherever. One of these, and they were laughing at me because I had these pens. It has a light. Sorry, as I blind the cameraman. If it's at night, or like you're in a lecture hall or wherever, it's got a light so you can write. You don't have to get up and turn a light on or anything. Write down when you switch from checking email, how long you spent doing email, how long you spent when you just looked at one thing that somebody commented on Facebook, and 45 minutes later, now you're reading some article that somebody posted. how much time it's taking you for dinner, how much time it's taking when you go to the grocery store, kids games, you know, soccer practice, wherever, whatever, even the time that you spend, if you have a regular 9-to-5 job, for your lunch hour. Then go back over this in a week. Look and see where you're spending your time. Before I had this job, because I work on lunch stuff usually here, don't I, Katie?
Mm-hmm.
I used to bring a little Gorilla Painter box to work, and I would do mini portraits or just studies. Just because that was time that I had that I wasn't going to get back, that I wasn't getting paid for, I might as well be using it for my art time. Okay? I know the social media thing, it happens to me too. Limit it. My biggest problem is when I leave here, sometimes at 8 o'clock at night, I go home. By the time I eat dinner, get the dogs fed, it's 9 o'clock. And then I think, I've worked so hard today, I'm going to reward myself with a half hour of TV. Then it's 11:30 and I'm like, oh, I really needed to work on something. Well, and I either stay up and then it's 3 in the morning when I go to bed, or I'm like, well, I'll just watch another hour of TV and go to bed. That's all the time I just wasted.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I should have just made myself a nice cup of herbal tea and looked at an art book to get inspired and then started from there. So I guarantee if you look at that, you can at least minimize some of the things that you're doing, change your schedule around. If you're riding in a car, you're waiting for your kid at soccer practice, you can take a sketchbook. You can take, our little art journals that we did. There's time where you're just sitting there waiting on somebody else, God forbid, happens to all of us, where you could be doing something, obviously you're not going to take your oils and go sit and do that, but you might be able to take a little pochade box and keep it with you. Okay, so that's what I want you to do if you think you don't have time, and then you will learn. When you don't feel like working, and you know you need to, and you want to spend that time, but you're just like, I'm at an impasse, an artistic impasse. Oh, I can't work. It's artist block. There's no such friggin' thing as artist block. There is. You're just not doing it. Take that time. If you don't feel creative, but you know there's things that you need to do, prime a ground for your canvas. Stretch some canvases. Gesso some canvases with a custom color. Clean your palette or deep clean your brush. You'll be ready for your next painting thing. Even set up colors on your palette if you want. Sometimes just squirting that kind of just, I'm gonna sound like a freak, but that beautiful religious experience of putting all the paints out on that nice clean canvas is just like, whoa, I must work. There's lights and holy music and all that stuff.
It's like a rolling start to a car.
It is. It totally is. Try out color schemes for your next upcoming work. Tape watercolor paper to a board. Draw something. Take off your shoes and draw your shoes. Do a creative, like a continuous contour line. It will loosen you up. It will relax you. It's fun. It's goofy. And then you're like, wow, this is fun. Let me get something else to do. Crumple a paper bag and draw it. Do an art journaling page. Okay, all these things are pushing you or getting those juices flowing or relaxing you. They're getting you in that mood.
I do color charts when I can't.
Yes.
Color swatches.
Yep.
Look
up somebody, Raven Six and I were talking. We were talking about an artist, and we said for him to look up a specific artist. Go, if there's always artists that you're like, oh, if I ever have the time, I'm going to go look this up. If you just really can't get going and most of the things are done in your studio, go look up an artist you've been interested in online. Wikipedia pages for artists are an ideal way to learn all sorts of cool stuff about the artist, to see artwork. Sometimes their stories can be very inspiring. Do that. If the artist is obviously alive, they do not have a Wikipedia page yet. Google search in images for their artwork. Look at web pages. Look at galleries that carry their work. At least you're learning something, and that sometimes alone can push you and get you inspired. Somebody else's story, somebody else's images. Tidy up your studio. These guys know I am the messiest person. Yeah. They're looking all around us, laughing. I know where most things are, but it's so much easier to work when it's not a wreck. Okay, I'm just gonna say that. So if you give it a deep clean when there's nothing else to do, then when you are inspired, then you can go from there. okay? Because I don't feel like it equates that you're not working. Do you want to be an artist? I mean, it's not always fun. It takes hard work to improve, to stay on task. Worse off to meet deadlines for commissions and stuff. That's my big thing. It's just, I'm like, oh my God, this isn't for me. I hate it. It's like what? It's a job. Artists can, it's a job. It's art work. It's not art fun. Then everybody would want to do it, you know? So that's okay though. Do those things. Invest in yourself by doing these things to take the time to be ready to work, all right? Because nothing's zaps real time that you can be working, like not being able to locate materials, not having substrate stock in the size you need to work. What? Have you ever gone to do that? You go to get something, you're like, oh crap, I need that. I've got to run to the retail store. Then how much time did you just, I live more than an hour from the retail store. So if I have to go get something on the weekend, that's at least 2 hours burned. And then anytime I'm at the store, then if I get something out to eat, whatever. Because you're certainly almost always, you run out of color at what? 1 in the morning, not 2 in the afternoon, right? So, or, you know, you're also nickel and diming yourself because you've got to go get that like now. Not you could have gotten it and ordered it and gotten it at a much lower price, although you would have had to have that wait. So what I really recommend to people to do when you're getting ready to, this is what you're wanting to do for a job. Find a studio setup. If you already have one, I want you to do this horrible thing, and then you're gonna want to just strangle me, and that's okay. Clean your entire studio. Your entire studio. Take a whole weekend if you need to do it. I know that's not fun. I'm not saying it has to have a spit shine and all that. What I'm saying is you're cleaning your studio, and while you're doing it, you're taking a complete and utter inventory of all your working materials, and you're recording them. This is an easy way to carry it with you. I mean, you can keep it on a spreadsheet if you're that kind of person. That's fine. Just make sure when you run out of stuff, take it off the spreadsheet.
I take pictures with my phone.
Yes. Well, no, I do that too. Katie got me doing that. But that helps.
It does help.
Do it down to the medium. Okay, I only have this much of glass bead gel. Tubes of paint. I've got 3 tubes of burnt umber for some reason, but only 1/8 of dioxazine violet. Include, you know, record your sizes of paper that you have, the colors. You know, if you work on pastel paper and you've got multiple colors, nothing is worse than you're pretty sure you've got like a rose gray color and you go to get it out and you've promised somebody you're doing a commission in that, and maybe you've put the commission off a little ways, and then suddenly you don't have that paper to work. Including if you're working at oils and acrylic, make sure that you say, these are all my acrylic primed canvases, these are all my oil primed canvases, and God forbid, don't take those wrappers off of them unless you're gonna write down on the back which is which, because sometimes it's really hard to tell afterwards. What? No, I'm serious. I have known more artists that have painted an acrylic painting on an oil primed linen and then later get a call, you know, 3 years later and it's starting to peel off. So this is what you do to make it so that when you are working, you're working full speed ahead. Then organize all of your stuff together, right? Put your canvases in a safe place where they're not bumping into each other, where they're not denting the surfaces in fronts, where they're standing up nice and straight like they should be, so they're not gonna sag, twist, warp. With tools like brushes, palette knives, things like that, a palette, you don't have to record those. Now with brushes, if you go through them a lot, like you're an oil painter and you scrub and you use size 4 all the time.
Extra.
Well, yeah, if you, like I'll buy 3 or 4 at a time, right? But then if I'm down to like, they all look like ratty and I'm using to scrub them in a background and only one is still nice, write down that you only have 1 left of that so that you know when you go to place another order, throw a couple more on there, right? This is a great way of saving yourself a lot of money because you know ahead of time you're getting low on all these things. Put them on an order that, you know, because you don't need them this absolute instant. It will save you money because you can get them online cheaper and you don't have to wait, you know, it's not a big deal to wait 3 or 4 days for them. And then you're not running out and wasting the gas and the money and the driving and the frustration and the time crunch to have them now when you need that to work, okay?
Katie. They're saying that it's blurry, and it's blurring for me too.
Uh-oh.
I don't know if we're having connection issues or.
And it's not me blurring it. I was not drinking before this. I mean, I guess that'd be me blurry, not
It's
you
not
blurry.
blurry on the.
You want me to just keep going? You guys can figure it out?
Yeah, it may just
Okay.
be. It may just be Facebook and their changes and stuff they've been
Okay.
making. So it may be trying to stream at a higher resolution than it's actually doing.
That's fine, guys. It should correct itself, hopefully.
Yeah, give it a second. It
Luckily,
might-
we're not looking at anything close up right now, so
Yeah.
it's not as big of a deal. Like, I look better blurry, I think. Most eight people out of 10 will probably vote that. So we'll just keep going, and they'll see what they can do to kind of fix that if it's blurry for you. We apologize. Okay, so you got your studio taken care of. You've taken inventory. You've said Amy is a horrible, horrible taskmaster and she made me clean. And now your studio is clean. Now we need to talk about self-promotional materials, which is not the fun part. This is the business part, folks. And inevitably, if you want to be an artist and get paid for what you do, these are things that you absolutely have to have. The first thing that you want to do, and these are the things you need to do before you deal with a website, because you're going to need them for your website, is you're going to need first an artist statement. Now, this is very confusing to a lot of people. It is not your biography. You're not telling about you per se. Okay.
Whoop, there it goes.
Oh, perfect. It must have heard you. All right. Okay, we're back. An artist statement, not a bio. It is a statement about your work. If you choose to kind of interject yourself into that, that's fine. And this is always something when people talk. If you're going to make it in the third person, keep it in the third person. If you're going to make it in the first person, I, keep it in the first person. There's nothing worse than people switching back and forth and back and forth. It sounds uneducated, it's confusing, and then sometimes people aren't real sure where you're going or what you're talking about. So, so the statement should just to.
Oh, hang on. Try again. You're back on now, but
Okay. What do you want? It's just to keep going, and then we'll stop if they need to.
yeah, they're asking
Okay.
if you can repeat about the artist.
Okay, no,
statement.
we will, because I know this is cutting in and out, and I apologize. An artist statement is a statement about your work, your inspiration, your thoughts, your emotions, what leads you to do the type of art that you do. You can have it include something like an aha moment as far as, about your subject.